Well, UN investigators have been given more time to find out who's responsible for chemical gas attacks in Syria. The UN Security Council unanimously agreed to extend the inquiry's mandate until mid-November. It was due to expire on Monday. Regime forces and rebels have accused each other of using chemical weapons in Aleppo. The regime says the opposition has killed 84 people, mostly women and children, over the last 3 days. Well, Russia's defense minister says peace talks on Syria are delayed indefinitely. Let's cross live now to Kevin Ozebek, who is in Moscow, to help us understand a little bit more. Kevin, first of all, up until now, Russia had at least indicated that not all hope was lost. So given what the defense minister has said, is there just no chance now that peace talks will resume soon?
Well, Andre, we're now 5 years into this brutal and bloody civil war. Now more than ever, this appears to be a war with no end in sight, especially now when you take into account what Russia's defense minister said today here in Moscow. Now, you were talking about the differing from Russia of the various rebel groups. Well, one thing is for sure, all of them want to take western Aleppo right now and push Syrian forces out of the western part of that city. Now, Russia is saying the U.S. and other Western powers have failed to send a message to the rebels that they are backing and that they need to distance themselves from other rebel groups that many people would classify as terrorists. Well, Russia is saying since the West hasn't done that, it wants to suspend peace talks. And at this point, there's no indication from Russia when these peace talks will resume, because the Russian military minister is saying these talks will not resume indefinitely until there's a real movement from the West here. Of course, the West sees things dramatically different here. A lot of people are just saying that Russia is propping up the Assad regime, a regime that kills and targets its own civilians for political gain.
Right, and they really seem to be moving closer to polar opposite sides now. Is there any way to come closer back to the diplomatic center, or is this just going to get more serious?
Excellent question, and really at this point nobody knows how this is all going to play out. Many in the West believe that this is really a strong political strategy from Vladimir Putin here to have such a strong presence in Syria, his main Arab ally, and really he's using this to expand his sphere of influence. But the truth is here that no matter who you side with along this conflict, it's the people stuck in the middle here, the everyday Syrians, that really are paying the price here. The West is saying that these airstrikes from the Syrian regime as well as the Russians are targeting civilians. They point, for example, a school that was hit on Wednesday of this week in which 20 school children were killed. It's believed by the West that the reason that this bombardment is continuing, even though Russia says there has been a pause in airstrikes over Aleppo over the past 10 days or so, is Russia and Syria is trying to make life just absolutely miserable in the parts of Aleppo that is controlled by these rebels, and that Russia and Syria is trying to destabilize those rebel-controlled pockets in order for the government to retake all of the city. Of course, Russia has a very different view of this and is saying the West is propping up terrorists here. But regardless of the realities, the death toll is continuing to climb, and this is now one of the bloodiest months in Syria we've seen in a long time.
Okay, Kevin. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much for that from Moscow.